Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. Iraq impeachment and the media. That's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Even though the cut-and-run club, led by Barack Obama and Congressman John Murtha, continues to pound the drum of defeat in Iraq, things may be improving in that god-awful place. According to analysis by the Associated Press, the surge is working. Writer Robert Burns says, quote, "In 2 weeks of observing the U.S. military on the ground and interviewing commanders, strategists, and intelligence officers, it's apparent the war has entered a new phase in its 5th year. It is a phase with fresh promise," unquote. Now, the article goes on to say that despite the improvement, the Iraqi government's still a disaster. It would be awful hard for those who have declared Iraq as a no-win zone to acknowledge any improvement whatsoever. Does anyone really think these intense hate Bush newspaper and TV commentators would be glad to see the tide turn in Iraq? Take, for example, Bill Moyers of PBS, a relentless anti-war guy and Bush basher. Moyers recently ran a program about impeaching the president, after which PBS Ombudsman Michael Gettler said, quote, "There was almost a complete absence of balance in the presentation," unquote. Surprised? We're not. We called Mr. Moyers for comment, but he declined, so his pal, Factor producer Jesse Waters, paid him another visit.
It's Jesse with Oreilly. Long time no see.
Yeah,
I got a question for you. I have to ask you about your latest documentary about impeachment. The own ombudsman said there was a complete absence of balance.
Well, you know, this is no place to do this. I expect you out here all the time now.
Well, I know we're good friends. We go way back.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? You had 2 guests. They both were in favor of impeachment, Mr. Moyers.
You know, this is no place to do journalism. Standing in the middle of the street.
I think we're safe. I'm looking out for you. Mr. Moyers, what do you think about that? I mean, come on. Do you think this was
come on my show?
Do you think this was a partisan presentation?
Come on. I asked you to come on my show. I've got to get a cab and go to work myself. I try to be a journalist too.
Now, the reason we're bothering Moyers is that he symbolizes those Americans who want their country to lose in Iraq based upon a hatred of all things Bush. As mentioned, the situation is clouded by the failure of the Iraqi government. Those people are now on vacation, while there is no vacation for the brave American and British military people fighting for Iraqi freedom. That is unsettling, no question. But most Americans salute and admire our military people for making such a great sacrifice, for trying to bring freedom to a people who have been brutalized for decades. How on earth could you root against that? And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, the far-left Seattle Post-Intelligencer doesn't see it our way as far as the military is concerned. Editorial columnist Joe Copeland wants to keep military recruiters out of Seattle public schools. Quote, "Slowing the supply of troops for an out-of-control administration to wage a wrongfully launched war is a good idea," unquote. Say it ain't so, Joe. But Mr. Copeland's hiding under his desk and wouldn't appear with us. Instead, joining us now from Washington, Jeff Millard, chapter president of Iraq Veterans Against the War. You know, it seems to me, even if you're, against the Iraq War, which most Americans are at this point, because of, I believe, the failure of the Iraqis to stand up and fight their own battle, even if you're against the Iraq War, in a time of terror when the only thing standing between us and people who would slit our throats, yours and mine, Mr. Millard, are the military and our intelligence people, that you would want the military to be prosperous. Am I wrong?
Well, I think you do want the military to be strong, and one of the best ways to make our military strong is to bring those brave servicemen and women home from Iraq so they can protect Americans here on American soil.
But that's not the issue in Seattle. It's banning military recruiters from the public schools. That's the issue.
Well, Bill, they didn't really ban military recruiters, actually.
They want to. This guy Copeland wants to. Absolutely
what they're doing, if you read the full article, Bill, is they're talking about having the military have equal access as any other recruiter, say, from a corporation or from a college.
Well, Mr. Millard, as you may or may not know, the No Child Left Behind Act requires that all public schools in the United States give the military recruiters the same access to students as college or job recruiters. That's all the military asks.
And
Mr. Copeland and his newspaper want no access, and the Seattle School Board has approved restrictions, not like San Francisco, and San Francisco had to back down because they wouldn't have gotten any money for their schools, but they want, and you know this, they want the military out. Now, I'm glad to see you don't support that, But again, I'll phrase my question. Even if you're against the Iraq War, as you are, you don't want to diminish the military in any way because of the overall war on terror.
Well, I think, again, if we're talking about diminishing the military, the Iraq War is the primary thing in this country that is diminishing the military.
That's not the issue.
Well,
the issue is keeping the recruiters out of
Bill.
the schools.
Well, I think that you have to see the issue in context, and most of what the Truth in Recruitment movement right now is doing is trying to give potential recruits a full view of what military service is, whether it's exposure to depleted uranium or the fact that nearly a third of female veterans report some form of military sexual violence, or if it's the upwards of 80% of post-traumatic stress that is happening right now with returning veterans. And so to give potential recruits that full view of what the military life is like.
I don't mind those things being, I don't think they're facts. I think they're propaganda by an anti-military crew, which you're sounding more and more like.
Well,
and I hope that's not the case. I mean, I hope you're just against the war and not against the military, but you are sounding like an anti-military person here.
Well, as a veteran of 9 years, I think that it's preposterous to think that I would be anti-military. I want to take care of our veterans, things like depleted uranium, military sexual violence that I think should never happen, but quite frankly
it should never
do
happen. I mean, everybody knows it should never happen.
But
in
it does
any
happen,
organization,
and we need to make our children aware of that.
You're going to have things that aren't what they should be. But the basic theme here is starve the military. Starve them, by Mr. Copeland and the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. Don't give them any recruits. Force the military back from Iraq and other theaters, and that puts us all in danger, Mr. Millard, and you know it.
Well, I think that the Iraq War puts us all in danger, and if we limit the amount of recruits, then yeah, it quite possibly does have a big potential in ending the Iraq War, because we do need to protect American soil.
Okay, so you do want to limit the
America.
recruits. You do want to hurt the military. That's what you want to do, sir.
Well, I don't want to hurt the military whatsoever.
By limiting
as a
recruits, you would be hurting them, and you know it.
As a 9-year veteran of the military, I'd like to see our veterans taken care of when they come home, which just doesn't
happen. I think every
happen.
American wants to see them taken care of, and we on this program give hundreds of thousands of dollars so that may take place. But again, I think you're being a little sly here. Let me ask you one more question. If the thing turns around in Iraq, and it's a big if because of the Iraqi government's incompetence and corruption, but things are getting better by most viewpoints over there, would you be disappointed?
I think that the disappointment doesn't come into it. I want to see
That's an easy question. Would you be disappointed, sir?
Well,
sir, with all due respect, I want you to answer this question honestly, Mr. Millard.
And if you give me
would
just
you
a second,
be disappointed
I will do
if things in Iraq turn around and it turns into a country that is free? Would you be disappointed?
Your question is extremely loaded.
No, it's not. It's a simple, easy question.
No, Bill, it's really a loaded question, because right now the troops in Iraq don't want to be there. They want to come home. The American
I'm going to take that as you will not answer the question, a la David Letterman.
I would
going to
answer
take
the
it.
question
Look,
if you
it's
give
a
me
simple
just a
question.
second.
It's not loaded. If it turns around and Iraq goes the way where those people have some freedom and they fight on the side of against the terrorism, is that good or what? No?
I think that, again, it's a loaded question, and it's just an
we appreciate you coming on our program,
asking, especially of a 9-year veteran.
All right, fine. We appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you very much. Next on the Rundown.